Parents strongly caution, the following programs are intended for mature audiences over the age of 18. These programs may contain some material that many parents would not find suitable for children and may include intense violence, sexual situations, coarse language, and suggestive dialogue.
Hey guys.
Hello. Welcome back to episode 1, season 1 of Paranormal Gems. I am here tonight with our hosts Emerald Nix and Sapphire Mirage, and I am Onyx Raven, and we are discussing our new series. How are you doing tonight, Sapphire?
I am doing great. How are you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic. So what did you think of Taken by the Vampire King? Because that is the book we were reviewing this week.
So I would say it's a mix between Pretty Woman, a mix with a little bit of touch of Interview with a Vampire, and then just a sprinkle on top of Queen of the Damned, just to give you that Baton Rouge feeling. It's very much set in, I would guess, modern day Baton Rouge, because it doesn't really say what time frame, but because they get into a car, I would assume it's more modern day. It was pretty good. It kept you on the seat a little bit, and the way the writer did the chapters is a little bit of a different take on than how I'm normally used to chapters. It was more on one person's perspective and then jumping to the other. So it kept me interested. How did you take it?
I right along the same lines as you. I definitely caught some 50 Shades of Grey vibes on this one. The plot line of, Nick, the main male character, being this rich casino owner who has all of this lavish lifestyle stuff, and then the contrast of Leah, who is, struggling to keep her family's bar afloat. Her dad is a raging alcoholic who keeps gambling away all their money. And then their worlds like collide over this contract that her father has taken out on their family owned bar and home. And that's when, everything kind of turns into this world of, here's Nick, here's Leah, here's this contract, and everything just kind of goes to hell. So Emerald, what'd you think? All right. I think we may be having a little bit of a lag issue, so we are going to dive right in. So chapter 1. Chapter 1, you're introduced to Leah, and Leah is I'm assuming, manager of this bar called the Poorhouse. It's been a staple in Baton Rouge for many years. She is struggling to maintain this bar. She's struggling to keep it up and running. And as you kind of go through that first chapter, you realize that this bar has been family owned and operated for many, many years. She kind of preludes in that first chapter that her grandparents or parents didn't really have an idea of which way Baton Rouge was going to expand. So they ended up on the outskirts of the town. So it's kind of a slow bar, kind of a sleepy bar. It's got its regulars. You're
I
introduced to the
so.
regulars.
I think that's what gives it that little bit of now and day touch, because there's a lot of places that are starting to die out because now the cities are booming more and more and more. So some of the smaller towns are starting to go less and less and less. I think that's what the writer was trying to go for, to kind of give you that perspective of, hey, this is actually happening still, but let's kind of dazz it up a little bit with a little bit of razzle dazzle because it's Baton Rouge, right? But yeah, like you were saying, she said in the first chapter that she explains her mother had passed away. This bar called the Poorhouse, poor as in, pouring it, but not as in poor because you don't have money. Poorhouse. And they also own this estate that is really rickety and run down, but it had been her mother's family for what I think they said that it was part of the earlier settlers there, that it's been that her family for generations and generations, right?
Yep.
So it kind of sets that part up as she's more of the babysitter of her father, and more of the proprietor of the poorhouse because it was her mother's and she's passed, and of the home that even though it's rich, it's still something that's her. If that
Right. Right. It's really the only thing she has left of her mother.
So her father is the one that at the beginning of the book explains that he's the problem child. Because he is going there drinking everything that she has, and he's also stealing from the poorhouse themselves. So anything that she does collect from the town, he takes and gambles away. He has a gambling issue. The two lovable characters at the beginning of the book is Henry and Perry. Those are the two lovable characters at the beginning of the book. They're ex-cops, but they have their own booth that nobody else has ever sat in. And they have kind of adopted her because they knew the father was absent-minded, if you would.
That's a nice way of putting it.
I thought it was a nice political way of saying an alcoholic that takes the money.
Right. I think that's a politically correct way of saying.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
The nicest way possible.
Of saying raging drunk. Yeah.
The raging drunk. And it's not one of your typical romance books. I think it's more of the let's get you to know the characters first before jumping into everything.
Yeah, it's very descriptive on the character building as it goes along. And it's a slow burn for the most part. I mean, there's some parts on it that are like, hey. But for the most part, it is a slow burn. As I had some technical difficulties, so I don't know how far into the book we have gotten.
Yeah, we're still going over chapter 1, just kind of the introduction of the main plot characters on her side of the story, and just kind of leading into how she meets Nick and how that whole arrangement comes about. So
now how she meets Nick is kind of on the spicier side. I mean,
we didn't get to that spicy part yet.
I'm just saying, when we get there, it was a little spicy. But yeah,
a little bit. So as we go through this chapter, we find out that her dad is this raging gambling alcoholic. He has burned every penny they own. She's closing down the bar this night, and she walks back in to put the meager scrapings from the till into the safe that she has, and she remembers that she hasn't changed the codes on the safe in over 2 weeks. And she says in the book, I change these codes every week so that he doesn't know what the codes are. And so she goes in realizing that she did this, and she opens the safe and it's empty. Everything that she had to pay the bills with, the mortgages with, was gone. Excuse me. So in that moment, she's like this full on defeat, and he walks into the room, into the office, and he's drunk, and she's like, what did you do? And he was like, I'll fix it. Well, little does she know, to fix it, she's calling his gambling debtor. He's calling this guy saying, extend my credit. And then she leaves him there and she drives home. Like, she just leaves him. She's like, I'm done with him for the night. I find your own ride home. Here's $5. And then she goes home. And that's when you're introduced to this estate. And from the description of the estate, it sounds like it was at one point in time an absolutely gorgeous mansion.
Plantation home.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah, now it's rickety boards, and she knew where to step, because if she stepped in the wrong spot, she could fall through at any time. It reminded me of that movie with Tom Hanks in it, The Money Pit, where everything was collapsing and around him, but these little parts were okay. The way she described it was, when she's walking through everything, she's remembering how much of a beautiful banister this was, and the steps were this beautiful, and leading into it, she remembers, and she still loves the smell of the bayou and the Spanish moss on it. That's a consistent theme. The writer is really good about, is getting you with the visuals in your head about knowing how the breeze feels, getting that feeling to you of the humidity, because they repeat a couple of times that if you don't have the AC on, you can feel the heat and the humidity coming into the Louisiana humidity. But if you've
never been to Louisiana, her descriptions of the Spanish moss and the plantation, and the area and the heat and the humidity and the swamplands, and just the general all around area is just so spot on, that if this author is not from or has not spent massive time in Louisiana, I would be extremely surprised.
Exactly. I've always told everybody the humidity down in the Louisiana coast to Florida is like when you put your clothes from the washer and you put it into the dryer for about 15-20 minutes, and then you open it up and put your arm in there. That's the type of humidity you're looking at.
Oh, I always used to explain to somebody, if they wanted to experience the Louisiana humidity, take a hot shower, get out of it, and just get dressed. Don't even bother drying.
Yep.
Not even worth it, because you're going to be the same degree of wet in like 2 minutes. So just get dressed as you are. That's the humidity that you're going to be dealing with outside the house.
But the way that she describes how ornate and how beautiful everything once was, and how she feels that she has shamed her mom about allowing everything to fall down. One thing that we didn't mention is that in the chapters, she is very much explaining about how under or in the hole she is with trying to keep everything running. She's playing the bills roulette and figuring out which bill to pay this month or which bill to pay this month. And because her father has taken all the money out of the safe, it's unfortunately put her in the biggest hole she's ever been into. Just has no idea how to get herself back out of that.
She's drowning. She's literally drowning in her father's debt.
And then that's how it kind of leads into, she goes home, she takes a bath in her lukewarm water, gets out and goes to bed. Well, unbeknownst to her, her father is sitting at the desk and he's still rummaging through his black book he's always had. Yes?
She did not take a bath and go to bed. She got hungry and went to the supermarket.
You're right. I skipped over that whole section.
Because you cannot take away my spicy part here. I mean, I know that we are not all up on the woo woo, but we are about this spice. So you cannot miss my spicy part here.
Okay, let me backtrack a little bit. So she gets out of the lukewarm water. She gets a robe around her. and she wanders downstairs and opens the fridge up. And if you've ever been really hungry and you stared into your fridge and there's nothing there, hoping something appeared, that's the kind of image that the writer puts into your brain. So she scrapes up her $3.52 that she has, or 55 cents or whatever, and she goes down to the supermarket that she knows where all the deals and steals and the clearance items are. She goes and grabs. We have all been there. She grabs herself a couple things, and as she's walking out of the store, she notices this limousine pulling up alongside of the sidewalk, and it stops. Normally, she said that she would keep walking, but something drew her to kind of look and stare at the limousine. Well, she turns back down and looks at her bag, and as soon as she knows it, a gentleman with fiery gray eyes steps out of the limousine. And she's kind of took a step back because she's not used to people staring at her that way, I guess. And he walks forward and she steps back, and in the book it explains that she's pushed up against the wall to where her butt has hit the wall. And this is your favorite part. He just ravishes her with kisses. Is the way it happened.
And if anybody has ever been to the point where your knees go weak, I know that I have. My spouse is amazing at kissing me to where my knees go weak. So if you've ever been kissed that way, you know that leaves a lasting impression on you. You're like,
there it is.
Woo!
Butterflies in the stomach, lightheadedness, trying to grasp for air.
Yes.
That's a lot. And the thing I have to make clear is they don't know each other. This is the very first time they had seen each other ever. They had never crossed paths at all. And this is the very first meeting that they had with each other.
Easy now, fuzzy little man Peach.
Mm-hmm.
I call a meeting. I'm telling you.
And she gets nervous and she drops the bag of groceries and she's just going at it with him. Mind you, the one biggest thing that we have not said about this girl is Leah is a virgin.
Yes.
A virgin.
She is a virgin.
All the way around. She's never had a boyfriend. She's never been kissed. She's never done anything. She's 100% a virgin. So this is not
anything.
Bullshit.
No. I can't be bullshitting at all because the whole premise of the book is that she's a virgin and everybody has to have her. So.
Well, yes, because we're not there yet as to explain why she has to be a virgin, but there is a reason that she has to be a virgin. And for her, between, her mother's death and her father, gambling debts and having to run the poorhouse and having to try to fix up the house and just everything weighing her down, she really just never had the time or the inclination to get a little, 20-foot mambo, horizontal mambo with anybody, because it's just like she don't got the time.
20
toe mambo.
20-foot mambo?
20 toes. 20 toes.
What is this? The scene of Anaconda?
Well, check it out.
Ain't that kind of anaconda?
Apparently, there's got to be an anaconda somewhere, just not in this book.
Yeah. Miss Onyx, we haven't gone to book 2 or 3 yet. That's still to come for us, okay?
Apparently, it's still to come. Yeah.
But she explains that she's thinking this whole time, I don't know this man, and she finally gasped for air. Apparently, coming back up, she said that she gasped for air and finally pushes him away, and she makes a dash for it back into the store. Waits there a little bit of time, and then he's gone when she comes out, picks her groceries up, and goes home. Now, poor thing, I don't know if she ever ate that night.
You done messed up. Now, see, the thing that caught me in that scene was that when she went back out and he was gone, he had taken the time to pick up and rebag all of her groceries and left them sitting there for her. Yep. To grab instead of just leaving them laying all over the sidewalk. I was like, aw, that's kind of cute.
The thing that I picked up is when she came out of the store, her groceries were still there. Because I don't
Yep.
know any place in the United States that would happen, but
most definitely not in
What?
Baton Rouge.
right?
Not in Baton
Not
Rouge.
even like no.
Facts.
So let's see. From there, we kind of skip over to the way that the writer wrote the book is it was from both of their point of views. It wasn't chapter 1 through chapter 10 is her and then everything else. It was her point of view first of who she is, and then they introduce the main male character as Nicholas or Nick. So it kind of bounces between the two, each chapter explaining what they're feeling at the time of what happens where the other one left off at. I kind of like
it really depends on your relationship with Nicholas or Nick as to what you call him. If you are one of his more personal friends, you call him Nick. If you are one of his more professional friends or just a minion, you call him Nicholas.
Nicholas. So I preferred reading the Nicholas part because to me she turned out to be a little whiny. That's how I got it in the book.
She's a little whiny.
I was being nice, okay? She's a lot whiny.
She very, very whiny. But I mean,
I get it a little bit.
So
let's go. Why is she too whiny? So she's whiny because the next morning, this man that had just kissed her shows up at her front door because he's there to collect a debt. Autocorrect doesn't like snacks, but I personally don't like snakes. But Nicholas shows up at the doorstep of her house early in the morning, and he's there to collect a debt from Jean, which is her father. Unbeknownst to her, he has gambled away the poorhouse, he has gambled away the home, and one more very precious piece of valuable.
That is the clause,
which I feel like is illegal to do. What he did, but
50 Shades of illegal if you read the book.
Yeah. So
he's a vampire. Does he give a flying bat's butt about being legal?
But first and foremost, he is a businessman, because otherwise, if he wasn't worried about being legal, he would not have had gone to legal to make sure that subclause was placed in there. And he had no idea that the girl that was at that house was the girl that he had just made out with passionately.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't. He had no idea. Not until he showed up
to the house.
That's right. That's right.
So he shows up at the house and he is banging on the front door. Nobody answers, and bangs again. And the door creaks open. He walks in and he sees Jean drunken state on the couch, and he goes, "Oh my God, you've come to save the day." Not really.
No.
So he said, "No, I'm here to collect my money and my debt." He said, "No, I'm trying to raise my credit limit. I want to raise my credit limit." He said, "No, I'm here to collect everything." And if you can see here in the subclause, and he reads the subclause, and we don't know what it is until the next chapter that Leah starts talking. Leah starts talking, and she finally comes down the stairs and she asks who this man is. He's sitting in the house. What's going on here? And they don't pay attention to her, and he turns around and he smells her. That sounded really inappropriate. But he smells her coming down he smells her coming down the stairs because she has a certain allure to him, aroma to him that he just can't place his finger on yet.
So you're saying
she's what?
She's stanky. She is stanky girl.
Stinky. No, because he explains that she has a floral scent to her.
The floral scent of virginity. I get it. Oh, okay. Okay.
She's a pure flower.
Pure flower. There you go. An unplucked blossom.
I guess as delicate as you can be for being a bar host and a bar owner. So she sits down. She's trying to listen to everything, and they finally include her Jeeper Creeper style. Exactly. That's called Secret. Good deodorant.
Lindsay for the win.
So down, and they finally look at her, and she goes, "Dad, what have you done?" And all he can say is, "I'm sorry." They haven't said what the clause is yet, and all he keeps saying is, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You can't, do we have to do this? I'm sorry." Turns out, not only did he lose the poorhouse, not only did he lose his house, he just lost and sold his daughter for 1 whole month. I think that's illegal. I think that's illegal still.
Yeah, it's very, I mean, it's probably very illegal to be sold for a pet. But we'll see.
He gave her away.
He gave her away.
He literally threw the baby out with the bathwater.
He basically, Gene, which is the father, he said, "This is what has to be done. This is what it is. It is." And the businessman, yet at least he put in there only 1 month. That makes it all better.
The one line in that chapter that pissed me off is when the dad went through and he's blubbering about what he did and how this will solve everything. It'll save it. He turns to her and goes, "You can save everything." Like she had any effing choice.
Game over, man. She was the one that saved it all because she got sold technically down the river to his place.
Right. Literally and figuratively.
So she
didn't have a choice in the matter. I mean, she could have said no. She had to sign the dotted line.
She could have said no, but she would have lost the poorhouse and her home. And that was her. That wasn't her. It was her.
Everything that her mother gave her.
Yeah, it was her mom's. She agreed to it, but she had 3 terms. 3 terms of her own condition. She'd have her own. Yeah, she'd have 3. She'd have her own. She'd have her own space, privacy. She would not have to have sex with him.
And no killing.
No killing, right.
No illegal things, no killing.
She was very adamant about the no killing part. Not so adamant about the non-sex part. It was more of the no killing part.
No killing, no illegalness.
Yeah, no illegalness of killings. Which was kind of funny because she is no fun, Lindsay, let me tell you. She whines.
Stick in the mud, right?
So, Nicholas...
But now we know why she's a whiner, because, I mean, she got sold.
That's why she's kind of a whiner. So, she did get sold. She's not used to the finer things. So, he said, "You don't need to go to the poorhouse tonight or today. Stay home, and I'll have a car pick you up this afternoon." She goes to the poorhouse. Anyways. No. Yeah, she goes to the poorhouse. This is where we meet one of Nicholas's right-hand men. His name is Benedict. Benedict. That one. And he's there to run
Not to be confused with Ben a dick. Benedict.
I'm sure he could be a dick. You know, I don't know him. Do you know him? I don't know. He could be a dick. But
Fire, I adore you. You're hilarious.
That's his right-hand man. But before we get into that, commercial time?
Yep, we have to break for a commercial.
Oh yes,
we'll
coffee.
Woo!
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
You know what I fucking hate? Fucking animal whore. A fucking shark. Bitch, please, this fucking dildo with teeth is beating your ass. It took you 2 hours of film to kill a goddamn shark. Fucking Steve Irwin could have fucking showed up, took a shot at Jack, would have been like, crikey, you motherfuckers can't do shit. We're just gonna jump in there with a knife, take here, got its guts out, presto, you're dead. It would have been like a scene from 300, Crocodile Hunter, guts wrapped around him, screaming, "This is Discovery Channel!"
I am looking forward to the comic books, and I am looking forward to the short film that is coming out. And I'm thinking I'm going to need to start drinking some of that coffee because some of these books are keeping me up all night just reading them.
I need to try that coffee because we really, really enjoy coffee here. So I'm really excited to try that coffee soon. So
Let me know how it is.
Oh,
and I will guess it.
You'll know how it is. I'll be like, this is some good coffee. This is really good coffee. I'll be all hyped up on that.
Three-way text of all of us blowing each other up. Oh, it's such a good coffee.
Did you read the book? I read it.
Back to the book. Okay, so Benedict.
We got
takes over the bar.
Well, we will get it by the end of this series. We'll get it right.
Oh, we have it right.
Well, we as a collective will get it right. How's that?
So Benedict comes in and meets her at the bar. Now, we have already met him because there's a meeting between Nick and his people about whether or not he's going to call in this loan or not. But he takes over the bar and he meets her. When she comes out of the back office, which is apparently filthy and never gets cleaned, he's behind the counter. And of course, she's being very like territorial and like, why are you behind my counter? And she makes him meet the boys because, you know, they're her regulars. And he sends her home.
Yep.
Go ahead, Sapphire.
So there was another part that kind of drew me in, as since you're talking about the casino part. His casino is La Petite Monte, and I found out what that meant because it was really one of those things that kind of bugged me. I wanted to know what it meant because there was a bunch of
The Little Death.
Yes, or it's an expression that refers to a brief loss or waking of consciousness. In modern usage, it refers specifically to post-orgasm sensation as liked to death.
Yeah.
Well,
But
damn.
So I'm assuming
La Petite Mort means the little death.
Mm-hmm.
Which for a vampire, I mean, it's kind of, you know, for a French vampire, it's kind of like, oh, type of thing, you know, like La Petite Mort, the little death.
So anyways, Nicholas tells his staff that nobody is to touch her.
We don't know. That little, you know, La Petite Mort between him and her. We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. But that was more like Dr. Evil. Than...
oh. They can be bald.
Oh.
I don't believe there's sharks with laser beams on their foreheads in this book.
Not yet. We haven't got there. Okay, maybe. I'm holding out. So he tells his staff what he wants them to do, what's going to happen, and what to expect. And he sends his car, Jenkins, to go fetch her. That's exactly the description that he uses for her, is to go fetch her. Because at this point in time, she's just a property for him, and she's just a way to get into something. And as they're talking and going through everything, he seems to like her more. For instance, there are times that he says that he can not tolerate normal humans, and she's actually now able to be tolerated. So,
but he also now knows, because at this point he's already said it. Now he knew her mother. He's known every woman in her family since they immigrated to Louisiana.
But he doesn't let that know yet. He doesn't say that until the very end.
No, he said it
but not to her.
No, not to her. But he's known every woman in her family since they migrated to Louisiana, and every woman, including her mother, has been a human that he has been able to tolerate.
Which, the way he describes her mother, I always felt that there was something more going on there.
I think
I
kind
of got that feeling too.
Which kind of felt a little bit more dirtier.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of leans that way. But at this point, he's still so strictly vampire that I don't think he swung in the human way that way at that point. I think that they were good friends. I think that she was a human that he could tolerate because of her line. But I don't think that they ever did the 20-toe mambo. I don't think they did. But I think there's something in her line that causes, that maybe might draw a vampire in.
He keeps repeating that she's really strong, that she's a very strong woman. Her whole bloodline has had nothing but strong women. So maybe that's something in there. And the way he speaks about her is that there's some sort of old magic to the bloodline.
Yep, that's what I was going to say.
He refers to her blood like is special. It's not like any other normal person that he's ever come in contact. Because he thinks humans are the lowest life possible because they go to his casino and give him all his money. So it's just...
Well, we also have to mention at this point that his father was the king of vampires in France.
Yes.
They got kicked out of France. They came to America. They immigrated to America, just like everybody else. They, came to Ellis Island. They did all that. When France overtook Louisiana, they lived in Louisiana because of that.
Well, he kind of says something else, though, which I kind of want to know a little bit more about. Because he says they first landed in Virginia, right? Then they said they went down to Roanoke. And then he just kind of side tassels that things got messy in Roanoke. And then he left.
Roanoke colony disappeared, so things got messy.
Things got real messy real fast, apparently.
A little bit of historical accuracy.
Well, I mean, it could have been a vampire. We don't know. We weren't there. We weren't historically there.
No, I'm not a historical person. I can't tell you no, it didn't happen because we don't know.
Right. Right. I mean,
I just thought it was hilarious because he kind of sidestepped.
Right. Just kind of
issue there, but we fixed it.
But he also did say right after when he said, things got messy, he also did say something like he cussed it, his brother's name.
He said Sebastian?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that part.
Damn it, Sebastian, or something like that. Things got messy. Damn it, Sebastian,
But
so that kind of indicates that like Sebastian did, something there in Roanoke. Who knows? But we do find out that the reason Nick lost track of Leia's mother is because his father was doing the long death.
Yep.
He was dying, and he had to focus on that and taking over the kingdom and building his casino.
Right. And so he explains in the book, or he explains out of his chapters, that he does have siblings, but they only pop up every now and then. So he doesn't know how many siblings he actually has.
And they're not blood related.
They're not
blood. He's blood born from his mother and father.
They were all made after they were already born. So none of them are actually blood related to him. And something to comment also is he's not a normal vampire. He's more of a, let me open my refrigerator, heat up a vial of O positive in the baby food warmer, and then take a chug of that vampire.
He's a vegan.
He doesn't drink from the vein.
Yeah,
he's
a vegan
Stokes vampire. He's more of modern day hippie vampire.
Ooh.
A gentleman vampire.
And the cup that he drinks from, which we hear about later on, is absolutely hilarious.
Yes, it is.
So I found that hilarious because even when he was saying about it, I just had that image of the green monster from
Little Barbershop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors, yes. where it says "Feed me, Seymour." That's the part that
Mhm.
popped in my head.
Seymour.
But that
But we do
that's
find
the
out that not only is he attracted to her physically, he's attracted to her in that
true mate.
in that kind of, he's drawn to her kind of way. He does say in one of the chapters that he feels like she is his soulmate, but he
Mhm.
also does say, and this is where the, untouched flower virgin thing comes in, that for him to solidify his seat in the kingdom, he has to marry a virgin.
Yep.
Mhm.
For any of the upcoming kings to solidify their seat, they have to marry a virgin.
So a side part of that is that, and he states it several times, that it's so hard nowadays to find any virgin.
Are you saying everybody's a ho-ho?
I'm saying there's a lot of ho-hos walking around with some dodos in their butt. And he goes and says that vampires are the same ho-hos as well.
Oh, vampires are very much ho-hos because they've got lifetimes. They're immortal. They have many lifetimes to be ho-hos. They can.
I mean, if you're looking for your true mate, I guess you don't want a ho-ho that might be walking around with a ding-dong in their
No, you don't think so?
No, probably not. But
I was at somebody's marriage or wedding. I'm not sure they are.
I can neither confirm or deny what you were talking about. Back to the book. Thank you. So in the book, he goes and makes a point that the reason that he needs this flower, the unflowered girl, is that he will get strength, his power will increase, but she has to come willingly. He cannot force it, because if he wanted to just force it, he could just force it and then it would be over in chapter 1. But this is a 3-book series, so
it almost was over in chapter 1 in the supermarket parking lot.
But she just melted in his hand.
I bet she did.
I'm pretty sure she would have melted in his mouth right too. I mean, it's just.
I mean, any respectable woman would.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So he takes her on a date at his casino.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait.
And then he leaves her for a meeting.
Wait. Before the date, though, we have this magic wardrobe again.
Oh, the magic wardrobe.
He picks out all of her clothes, gets her hair done, gets her makeup done, puts her in a boutique.
I wasn't at that date yet. I'm at the date at the top of the casino.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
Girl. That was the same date.
No, because the date at the top was a casino. His casino was a lunch date.
The rooftop.
And then he leaves her to take a meeting where he gets a phone call about somebody is, running their mouth and you've got to deal with it. So then they end up cutting their date short and they have to go down, and then she's with his bodyguard who talks to her and gets her to like gamble. I don't know how he does that. And she wins, and he actually lets her keep her winnings, even though their saying is the house always wins. Yep. And then he sends her to get her nails did and her hair did and her dress.
All did. Done.
All did.
He picked out this really light gray dress for her to wear because they had to go somewhere called the Neutral Zone.
Neutral Zone.
So something
in
that
Nolan.
explained.
In Nola.
Yes, in New Orleans. So something we know is that each city has their own sort of king. Mm-hmm. Because there's a Baton Rouge king, which is Nicholas. Then there's the low-life New Orleans king, Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Francisco.
See, he reminded me of like this big old fat guy that just was fat, and he smelled of fat. He looked of
right.
Fat. Because they don't really describe him.
No, but he does. He kind of reminded me of like Tony Soprano. Like that greasy kind of like slime ball, like gonna do dirty things, stab you in the back to get his way kind of jerk.
I mean, but he didn't make it. He didn't have that scary presence that Nicholas carries in the book.
No, he's like the
I would say
glittery
he was
crab
scary.
off of Moana.
I was gonna say he was sparkly like off of Twilight.
There you go. That works too.
He has definitely been a dick.
Because this kind of makes me mad though, because these aren't normal vampires. They walk around in daylight.
Mm-hmm.
Are you mad because they don't sparkle? Like, what's
No,
the problem?
I've never seen Twilight, but that's
Me
not
either.
a vampire. That's not a vampire. That's Sparkles, the vampire.
They're called daywalkers. Have you never seen Blade? I mean, come on, they happen.
I have, but that's not even close to this. So evolution, maybe evolution for them.
Maybe. Or maybe
was-
it's just that play on the myth, you know, because he does say that later on when we get further into the book, that a lot of what humans believe about vampires isn't true.
Oh, that's right. The religion part and everything. Yeah, that's true.
They can eat garlic. They can go into a church. They can walk in the daylight. We don't know about being staked. That's probably true. But I do believe that we need to go for another commercial break.
I believe so.
Negative.
Or not. All right. So we're going to just keep going.
Justin has spoken.
That would be our
Ladies and
producer.
gentlemen, our producer.
Okay, so
I ran out of commercials.
oh. Okay, so
There you go.
real fast information then. Tuesday nights you have us. Wednesday nights at what time, ladies?
9 o'clock.
9
Eastern
o'clock.
Standard 9.
Eastern Standard Time is Chronic Sports. Tomorrow night they have a brand new co-host. He'll be joining in as well. Thursday nights
The Mexican.
the Mexican. I didn't know if I was
Mexican.
dead or not. The Mexican, and I'm that because he is a Mexican. So Thursday nights Thursday mornings we have Injection.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Caffeine injection.
11 p.m. Central Standard Time or Eastern Standard Time. Then in the evening time, join us to indulge in your 90s and 80s horror movies with
Buzzkill Cinema.
Buzzkill Cinema, thank you. And then Saturday night, if you join us, we have our Buzzkill Lounge.
Nope, just the lounge.
Hellfire Lounge.
The lounge. At what time is that?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, thank you.
But we are only every other Tuesday night, and the lounge is only every other Saturday night. But you never know what's going to happen on that lounge because every single host that you see can be there.
True. I thought you were about to do that. So it can be yours for only $9.99.
Well, I mean, if you want to sell yourself for $9.99, you might as well go sell yourself to a vampire for a week.
21.9.
No, thank
No,
you.
I'm just having too much fun with this.
Let's go back because otherwise we ain't gonna get to this book.
And he's gonna keep popping in
because we got 10 more minutes. So the book rolls on, and she comes to New Orleans, and Nicholas has to go downstairs and talk to this pit boss. That's who Francisco reminds me of. To basically call a truce for 1 month. While this 1 month is open, no one can touch Leah. Nobody can mess with him. Nobody can mess with his land. Nobody can have anything. And in return, he'll give him a tract of acreage out in Baton Rouge that he's had his eyeballs on for a long time.
I think if he just peed on her, it would have been better. Like, he could have just peed on her and stake his claim, and then we wouldn't have had this problem. But no, she had to get up and leave the table because she wanted to go exploring. And what happens? She almost gets eaten by 3 wayward vampires. So
before that, she gets taken into a shop, and this shop lady freaks out. She said, "What are you doing out here by yourself? This is not a place for a lady like you." She's all dressed up. She's got cleavage to everywhere. Her dress is cut short. She's got her hair done, everything. Yes, Miss Onyx.
Did the shop owner remind anybody else of the witch from Pirates of the Caribbean?
No, she actually
Yes.
of the witch from Robin Hood Men in Tights. Latrine.
No. I seriously think that if she had given her a jar of dirt and she was like, it's a jar of dirt, she would have been like, if you don't want it, give it back. No, I'll keep it. And then she would, I see it. Yes. I 100% saw that as yes, 100% Onyx. Yes.
She gives and they never even really said her name or anything like that. She just was this creepy shop woman, and she gave her an amethyst inside of a cage to wear around her neck, which is a very powerful jewel. And she steps out, and as she's stepping out, she could feel this ominous presence behind her. So she started to pick up her pace towards the restaurant. So she had gone straight down, and she was going to come straight back out. But unbeknownst to her, she was being followed by 3 men, if you want to call them that. They ended up pinning her against the wall, and they were about to do things that I'll let you imagine. They got real close. The real men don't do. So we get to that point, and Jason is the bodyguard, and he was supposed to be watching over her while Nicholas was down in the basement talking to the pitmaster. But when Nicholas comes back, she's gone. Nicholas goes out looking for her. Jason looks out for her, and Nicholas gets there just in time before she has been bitten or before she's been deflowered. Because if anybody else bites her or deflowers her, then she will no longer be she can't have him as a true mate, and she would not be claimed by him. It would be somebody else would get the power, and that she would be owned by them. So needless to say, he rips them to pieces, and Jason has to clean up the mess. But he has torn them into pieces, and he is just soaked in blood. Jason gives him his outfit, and Nicholas gives the jacket over to Jason, and he cleans it up. There's so much in the book.
One really important thing here is that in this scene, she comes to him during that assault scene that you see there. She sees the vampires, like she sees their fangs, she sees the monster in them, she sees all of that.
She said that it looked like there was something extra in his mouth.
Right, but when he picks her up, she wakes up and she starts to scream. So he uses compulsion to put her back to sleep and to erase her memory or push the memories back so that she doesn't remember what happened.
Yeah, and he said he felt bad for doing that because it's his true mate and he would never want to do that to her. But he said he did it just so lightly that she would not be scared of that, because he didn't want it. In this whole book, he does not want to be a monster for her. That's his fear, is that he will turn into this big monster to her.
So is it anybody else's opinion that this girl is like not, I don't want to say looking for trouble, but she is like a magnet for trouble, because she goes out and the 3 vampires attack her. The next time they go out, which I believe is the next night or the night after that, she goes out with him to a family gathering.
Yes.
He gets pulled away by the ho-ho. I mean, female vampire who wants to be his mate. Yep. And his brother Sebastian, who he is trying to keep her away from,
which is
pulls her away and takes her up to this gorgeous area, and they're talking, and then Sebastian tries to attack her and take her away from him, all because she's a virgin. And then she goes home. So that's twice she's been attacked now. They take her back to take her back to his place. She decides to try to be sneaky, goes into his wing, which is the one thing that she's been told she is not allowed to go into, finds all the blood. Now she thinks he's a murderer, and all of the pictures of him. So now she thinks he's a narcissistic, like self-indulged murderer, because there are paintings from one end of the room all the way around to the other end of the room in multiple stages, like as the centuries go, different thing.
She thought he did cosplay. He said,
right.
Cool. She's like, okay, everybody has their kinks. So he does cosplay. Okay,
yeah, he does cosplay. Like, okay, cool. Which, I mean, all right, I would buy that. And then she finds out the blood. He does tell her he's a vampire, which now she's like,
she doesn't know how to see. First, she wants to jump on him and just go with the deflowering. The next part, then she's upset because I've been just nothing but a contract piece. And that's what she keeps saying, is that I'm just a contract. I want to feel more than just being a contract. But I think everybody wants to feel more than just a contract or more than just a piece of article. She wants to feel loved, and she wants to be happy. She's never been more happy than she's been with him before. So that's the biggest thing for her.
Right. But she gets her feelings hurt. Because she sees herself as arm candy. She won't let herself see past that contract. She won't let herself see past that title of arm candy, which he has never called her. She has always said that to herself. So she gets butthurt and decides that she doesn't want to be there anymore because the butler's a vampire, the cook's a vampire, the maid's a vampire, like everybody in the house is a vampire. So she goes back to the bar. When she gets to the poorhouse, she finds that it is completely reformed. There's a full restaurant. You know, it is 100% packed. It is decorated to the nines. Like Benedict has completely reformed this bar. And so she works there a little while, and then she goes home. And what does she find when she gets home? The
house is being remodeled.
Yep. The restoration of her mother's beautiful plantation home is in the process of being reworked as well.
So the last chapter, we get to this big cliffhanger. Nicholas and Leah have been separated for at least a couple of days, maybe a week, because it doesn't really tell you how long, right? So he goes Jason. Okay, so back up a little bit. So Nicholas explains to Leah the only person he has ever turned a vampire was Jason. And that was because Jason was about to die. He was dying, and he was the only person he trusted. So that was the only person he had ever made a vampire out of all the centuries he was around. Jason comes into the casino, and he's watching Nicholas just soak in his feelings. And Jason basically says, get your butt out there and go win her over. In a short, sweet version.
I want to say it was 24 hours, though, because, I mean, literally she talks about she went to the plantation and she was supposed to go back the next day, but she never made it.
But he did say that she was opening for a couple of days, and then she was supposed to come in this morning to open as well. So at least 6 days had passed. So Nicholas shows up at the restaurant. She's not been there yet. So something sparked his interest, because Benedict has even said strangers have shown up looking for certain people at the restaurant. So he goes and he feels uneasy, and he rushes over to her house, and there's no noise. He can smell the paint. He can smell blood in the air. He cannot hear anything, though. He opens the door. It opens slowly up. He looks to his right, I think, and he says that he sees just a puddle of blood. Heads have been ripped off. Hearts have been ripped out of their chests, and it's just a bloody scene. So he's screaming her name out just now to make sure that she's even around, because he can't hear a heartbeat. He can't smell her at all, but he can smell that she has been there. So he races up the stairs, and she's not anywhere to be found. That's the end of the book right now.
Yeah. Well, she wakes up I think that's the next book. The other guy's place.
I think that's the next
she wakes up at the other guy's place. That's all we know, is that she wakes up in some other place.
That's right.
And I have a feeling it's Francois, just because of the way he talks.
Oh, fancy.
Which, like I said, I really thought
chapters of that book, but I'm not going to say who's got her.
Nope, don't say it.
I think. See, I was thrown when I got the accent from the end of the book, because I like the accent matches Francois. The other person it could be, though. What?
Rude. I said, oh, that's right. You listen to the books. Rude.
Oh, we don't have that.
I actually read this one. Thank you very much.
Oh.
But the other person it could be, because they don't identify a gender, is the bitch vampire from the party.
See, I had to her because he did say that she's very malice when she doesn't get her way. So to wrap up, 10 out of 10 on this book. What do you think, Emerald?
I liked it. I think it is a really, really good book. I love the slow build. I love the I love that there is that essence of romance. I think that, you know, them finding each other the way they did, and the only like woo scene is, as we were talking about, is in the back seat of the car on the way to the dinner with his parents, which got a little heated. I think that's going to build through the books, and I like that. I like when books do that slow build to the smuttier parts of it. Yeah, I'd give it a, yeah, I hate cliffhangers, so I can't really give it a 10 out of 10. I'd have to give it an 8 out of 10 because I really hate cliffhangers.
Okay, so Miss
I hate
Emerald,
them.
stamp of approval, Miss Onyx.
I gotta give it a 7. I'm sorry. I mean, I like it. It's a good book. I feel like it's got a really good plot line, which I like. What I'm not a really big fan of it is that it is kind of predictable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it ended on a cliffhanger, but it was a cliffhanger that I saw coming, which to me doesn't really like that. I don't know, that knocks it down a couple points for me. So I mean, solid 7, solid 7.
I'd have
So
to agree with that. Yeah.
I'm going to be the oddball out, and I'm going to give it a 5.
Ooh.
I'm giving a 5 because it was really a slow book for me. It was really hard to even get through her sections of the book because it was just so whiny and dry when she was explaining things, where he would point out this, and this. So I would have to give it a 5. So we gave it 2 gems out of 3. Ain't so bad.
That's
Yeah,
not bad. Yeah,
it's not
that's not
bad.
bad.
So
Hopefully the next 2 books get like more action packed and there's a little bit more like build. I think this one is it. I can't really complain about it. I mean, it is a slow book, but I mean, it's a good book.
So the next book
Yep.
we got in 2 weeks we'll be covering is Stolen. Is the next
By a vampire. Yep.
Stolen by the Vampire.
Mhm.
So
All right.
All
Well,
right.
then until then,
We love you. We miss